All right, today we're talking 10 tricks with no pop. The first 5 are gonna be super easy. The next 5 are gonna be slightly more intermediate. So if you're already past your beginner level of skating, skip to the middle of the video. With that being said, let's get to trick number 1. So trick number 1, a personal favorite of mine and one of the first tricks I ever learned, and that is Casper. There's 2 ways to get out. I'm gonna give you a brief explanation of both, show you some slow-mos, and then we'll move on to the next trick. So if you don't know already, the Casper will require the board to be upside down on the floor like this. Your back foot, which for me is my right one, goes on top of the tail here, so on this bit. The other foot, your front foot, goes underneath the board, so it'll be touching the grip tape on the underside. Then what you do is you bring this knee up to bring the front of the board into the air, and that is your balanced Casper. Now there's 2 ways to get out. The first one is simple. You can just practice with your feet on the ground like this at first, but ideally you would do it from this position. But the first way to get out is just jump forward, lift this leg up so the board can rotate underneath it, lift this leg up so that it can push the board over, and you get the most basic variation of Casper exit. Now the other version is slightly more difficult, but it looks a hell of a lot better. So let's get back into Casper position, throw that down, just like here. Now this time, instead of just jumping forward, we're gonna scoop this back leg behind us, like this. And at the same time, we're gonna jump and lift this leg straight up. So it like comes up like this, but it like clips the board on the way up. If you wanna practice and land 1 foot, do it like that. But realistically, if you can do that, you can do the entire thing. Put the board down, feet exactly where I told you, lift it up a little bit, scoop with the back leg, lift up the front, jump forward slightly, and that's your Casper shove it. On to trick 2. All right, trick number 2, the fakie shove it. Now the reason why I'm picking fakie instead of a normal shove it, which if you didn't know, fakie means we're riding backwards, is because you get a bonus bit of momentum from riding backwards. So if you're comfortable riding the board at least a little bit, that will be the easier version of this trick. Otherwise, just practice it standing still, stationary. But how do we do it? Let's find out. So similar to our Casper shove it, we're gonna be scooping that back foot in the exact same way like this, but obviously we're standing on top of the board instead of in Casper. So our front foot almost literally just steps forward. So if you do the back foot movement like that and jump, you can just stop the board with your front foot. That is the best way to practice it. Just keep doing that over and over again, stopping it with the front foot until you know you can do the form perfectly. After you've got that, we're ready to practice committing to the trick. Best, easiest, and safest way, put your board in front of some grass. If you don't have any like skate trainers or anything like that, sometimes they can be good, sometimes they can be shit, depends on the person. But if we don't have any of that, we're gonna be standing in front of the grass, doing exactly what I just told you, aim to land on the board, have your arms in front of you for a bit of extra balance. I know it's a lot to take in, but just watch this bit 3 or 4 times, write it down if you need to. But yeah, jump forward, land in the grass, and that is your basic shove it. But now, we're gonna do it in fakie. So of course you don't need to use the ramp to go up and come back down. You can just push and stand on it fakie, but this is the way I like to do it. It gives you a nice bit of momentum and it gets you used to the ramps as well. So going up, come back down, doing the exact same thing as we did with the shove it on the grass. When we land, we're gonna bend our knees for stability, and then you just gotta practice. On to trick number 3. Trick number 3, a great filler if you need to switch stance in a line, that is revert. Now there are plenty of different ways to revert. You can do it front side, you can do it fakie, you can do it backside, you can do it moving, stationary, whatever you want to do. We're going to go over fakie backside because it's by far the easiest version. So as we did with the shove it, we're going to ride up the ramp, come back down, and instead of doing the shove it this time, we're going to turn ourselves. So I'm facing this way already with my shoulders and top half just to get me ready for the turn. Then when we're riding backwards, we're going to take a bit of weight off this one, put a bit of weight on this one. You'll likely do that where you don't quite make the full rotation and then you step off. If you can get halfway on the rotation to facing back forward again, then that is a great start if you can do that. It's going to take a while, at least a few hours to a day or 2 to get used to it. I've taught many children this in a very short period of time, so you should be good too. But essentially, you know I love saying that word, facing backwards, use our hips, turn the shoulders first, and bring it all the way around until you can complete the rotation. Then if you're feeling brave, you can do that one, and then throw another one back to fakie, but that's gonna take a lot more practice, so just put it in the agenda. Good luck, on to trick number 4. All right, the fourth installment in this list is probably the easiest one for most people. And that, again, great for switching our stances. That's because it's a body varial. So we're just standing on our board, as simple as it gets really, and we're just jumping 180 degrees and landing on the other way like this. And you can do it as many times as you want to keep switching to and from stances. It's a real easy one to do, but to make it easier than easy, we're gonna stick our board on the grass, literally just throw it down. Now the board can't fly out either way. Don't get too comfortable doing this. Literally just do this for the first few lands, then move back onto the concrete because you don't want to get too used to the board being stuck in one place because that's not the real world. Anyway, back to business. On the board on the grass, so stand on the board nice and stable, bend your knees, jump 180, land, knees bent again for stability, as we've learned from the video so far. At this point, we could just keep practicing, one like that, one like that, one like that, one like that. But yeah, like I said, don't get too used to standing on the grass. Now we can't really make this trick any easier than that. So if you can do it stationary, start off by just moving super slow. Make sure you bend your knees when you land and you should be all good. On to trick number 5. All right, we've got fakie big spin next. Now this is a combination of 2 of the tricks we've already done, that being the fakie shove it and the fakie revert. So practice those 2. If you've got them both, you're certainly ready for this one. Fakie, as we know already, is riding backwards. A big spin is a shove it combined with a 180 or a revert in some cases. So essentially you do the fakie shove it and then the revert like that. But you do them at the same time. So instead of doing them like 2 separate tricks, you kind of fuse them together like that. It's gonna take a little bit of experience to get to that point. So to practice it, we're gonna do the 2 original parts of the trick, shove it and revert, and just try and decrease the gap of time in between the 2. So let me show you right here. Start with the fakie shove and then the revert like that. Then we're going to try to do it as quick as we can. So like shove, revert. So with enough practice, we can decrease the time in between until we can get our own one onto 6. Trick number 6 is a slightly rare spawn, and that is the Mongo Heeley. What is it though? Let's find out. So the Mongo Heeley is something that I learned due to necessity of trying to stop at traffic lights. So like, for example, if I was gunning it down the road and there's like a cross section where there's traffic lights and a stop sign or whatever if you're American, instead of like power sliding, I would always do it like this because the roads in England are super rough. So I'd always use that to stop me because you can't really power slide on most of these roads. So I would literally just go like this. But yeah, random story, but that's how I learned Mongo Heeley. Now, the trick itself can be a bit difficult. Main reason being is because you've got to take the front foot off and you've got to use your back foot to spin the board on its own. Great way to do that, have your foot in a stable position like this, diagonal. So with that goal in mind, our back foot is going to be positioned to complement that. We've got our heel on the tail and our toes on the board just enough so that we can use our heel for weight to lift up the front, and we have enough control with the toes of that foot to keep the board coming back and down again. A good way to practice this would be to not complete the full rotation in one go, because like I showed you at first, you just take the foot off, spin the board, and put the foot straight back on again. If we want to practice it incrementally, we're gonna allow for a few extra dabs of the foot. Think of it like an easier difficulty. So we're gonna take our foot off, get the board halfway, do another dab, get the board halfway, and go back onto it. Similar to how with the fakie big spin, you need to decrease the gap of time in between. We're going to be doing that same thing here. So 180, 180, and try and put that front foot on as the last 180 is being completed. Other than that, this one just takes practice and watching these slow-mos. Then with enough practice, just meet the board with the front foot and roll away clean. On to number 7. Trick number 7, another one of my personal favorites for this type of video and one of my favorite unique tricks overall, also almost guaranteed to give people a letter in skate, and that is the bubble shove it. But if you didn't know already, that trick looks just like this. So this is one of them ones that requires lots of practice and it's gonna take a little while, especially if you're more on the beginner side of skateboarding. But if you're like high level beginner intermediate, this one shouldn't be too much of a problem. The foot position itself starts with our front foot just before the front bolts and the back foot near the middle, but not quite, somewhere in between the middle and the back bolts. Now the foot position's key, but the back foot does everything on this trick. Pulls the board towards you and flips the board over like that. So the bubble shove it in itself is pull the board towards you and flip it over. And you're just doing that super quick. So like that. The better the scoop, the better it will be. And you can even practice jumping onto it like this. If you can do that, you can really do the trick. It just requires a bit of practice, figuring out what's not working, what is working, watching some slow-mos. But there's not much else I can teach you for this one. If you can do that first foot movement that I showed you, and especially if you can do the one where you jump on it also, you should really have no problem with the trick. But this slow-mo right here should help clear up any questions before we get on to number 8. All right, the next trick is the primo. If you don't know what that is, take a look at the board right here. The primo, also known as the rail, because it's the rail side of the board, like this part of the board is called the rail side, especially if you're speaking to an older skateboarder, but most people just know it as primo. So you have your feet on the wheels, you use your heels to kick the board forward and just land flat, but the hard bit is getting into the trick, the easy bit is getting out. So now that we know that, how can we get in? So for my back foot, I have it on the bolts so that my toe is hanging over where the wheel is. So my toe is hanging where the wheel is. My front foot is on its side, like here. So the foot position is like this. So this foot pulls the board down onto its side and this foot steps onto the wheel. So it goes like this. And then while you're in the middle of doing it, you would bring the other foot up to the wheel. So it's gonna take some practice. Front foot puts the board on its side, back foot steps onto the wheel, and the other foot joins it. Then heels, and we're out. And if you need a bit of extra stability, find something like this, stick an arm on it, and then just simply go up, go down, go up, go down. Practice it, and get to number 9. Number 9 is the old school flip. And it's not that difficult, so let's get into it. Now, this can be a tricky one. What we're actually doing to flip the board is my back foot here is hooking underneath the side of the board and lifting it up as I jump off this foot. So it goes like this. And it just kind of rolls along the floor. The better you can hook your back foot underneath, the better of a flip you're gonna get. Bit of a hack to help get your foot better on that side is to use your front foot, put weight on this front foot, and it lifts up the other side of the board like this. So for example, put weight here, lifts up here, then we can get a better hook underneath and hopefully get a better flip. Now, a lot of people body varial with this. So if I'm normally regular and I go into the position to flip it, I would then land like this, because when you body varial with this trick, it just seems to make it a bit easier. I don't know why. It's what 99% of people that do the trick do. So it just seems to work. It's one of them things. Anyway, practice, practice, practice. And if you need a bit of extra practice, stick that board next to the grass and boom. Now all you gotta do, practice it on the concrete, add a bit of movement if you're feeling it, watch this slow-mo, and then you're ready for trick number 10. All right, my final trick for this list is the 360 revert, and it looks like that. Also one of my favorite tricks to do, like if you're in the middle of a line, if you're going fairly fast, you need to slow down a bit. Looks good, in my opinion. For the 360 revert, we're gonna be riding forward, not fakie this time, because it's a bit easier forward, in my opinion. We're gonna practice our back revert and then do another one straight after. So like back revert, and then a second revert. I hit that stone and it almost killed me. So back revert, now we're in fakie, second revert. As we've done with our fakie big spin, we're gonna make sure that we do the 2 reverts and slowly decrease the gap of time in between them to the point where it all becomes one fluid motion. It's gonna take a while. 360 reverts aren't that easy and you kind of have to throw your body weight into it to get the full rotation. So you almost like use your shoulders, like wind yourself up a bit and then throw yourself around like that. Gives you a lot better momentum. So let me get forward again. Remember, wind up the shoulders and then throw the weight and you get yourself all the way around. It's the perfect way to learn it. Again, one of my favorite tricks. And if you're feeling extra brave, you can go fakie, 540, 720. End of the video. See you in the next one.